Okay, so the 1954 roster listed 45 members, and this is page 1 of the roster from February 1955. And then there are several rosters. What's showing is the 1964 roster, and then one from 2008 to 2009. But in 1969, the golden-fronted woodpecker was the official bird for the roster in the newsletter, and the artwork on the 2008-2009 roster is by Marjorie McFarland. Then Screen Tour of the National Audubon Society were the screen series that the club saw from 1954 to 1983. And on the left is a pamphlet from the Audubon screen tours. And on the right there was like a little coupon book for the season tickets, and that's for the 1958-59 season. And then Charles Bender was real instrumental in San Antonio Audubon, and he recently passed away in February of this year. And he's the second from the left on this photo. And next to him, the extreme left, is Bill Jones. He's was another very long time San Antonio Audubon member, and we'll also bring up Bill Jones later on. So Charles joined San Antonio Audubon in 1956. He was a Christmas bird count compiler. He held various positions on the SAAS board. He was president in 1961, 1968, and 1969. He was a field trip leader, meeting presenter. And in 1965, he started the New Braunfels Christmas bird count, and he was a sole birder, and he had 60 species in 11 hours. And then this information on his life list came from his obituary. He said his Texas birds were 530 and his North American birds were 735. The first Christmas bird count that SAAS held was December 26, 1955. And this information was something that I took out of the history that Betty had put together for the first 50 years of San Antonio Audubon. And then the CBC moved to Southwest Bexar County December 26, 1960. And this is just a picture of the Christmas bird count, the countdown dinner from December 17th, 2000. Ernie Rooney's the gentleman standing up towards the sort of the center right rear. Keith Bartels, is to his left. And Georgina sitting down, and next to her is Leslie Linehan. And I think the extreme left might be Dick Bartels. And if y'all can help me, I don't know if that's Mike Scully in the front with the striped shirt.
Yeah, that's Mike.
Okay. Because on the right is what was on the back of the photo, and it just says Ernie Rooney heads the SA Christmas bird count at Bud Jones Restaurant. And I know we held the countdown at Bud Jones Restaurant for years. And then checklists of Bexar County. This one that's here on the left was either from 1956 or 1957. And then I believe this is the latest checklist from 2019. In 1958, members of San Antonio Audubon proposed a nature trail in Olmus Park to the city of Alamo Heights. Funding was successful, and the city of Alamo Heights dedicated the nature trails on November 10th, 1965. And this was a map of the Olmus Nature Trail. And I don't know if y'all can see that very well, but it shows it's near Contour Drive. And then to the right is the distribution of the Olmus Nature Trail guides. And it looks like 1,000 copies were distributed in October of 1960. And the Judson Nature Trail host, which is where the Judson Nature Trail is that we're familiar with, these were some of the hosts. And I don't know what year this picture was taken. So it's to the left, Kurt Walker, Riney Gersh, Alice Walker, and Lillian Gersh. I don't know if you guys any idea when this photo was taken.
I don't have any idea.
Okay, I was just, it's like a older station wagon, and I don't remember when station wagons stopped being around. I know they were around when I was a kid. So then on field trips, this is a photo taken from 1958 showing the 12 people that are on there. Charles Bender's the third person. He's kind of in the back. Well, he is in the back behind, looks like he's behind between Mark Conroy and Dick Roche. And Margaret Lofton and her husband, yeah, Grady Lofton's on there, and Grady will be mentioned again later on in the slide presentation. And then this is just a close-up view of Grady Lofton and Dick Roche, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And this is a field trip from 1965. I don't know where it was from or where they were at because there was no notation on it. And these first photos were presented or on display at the 50th anniversary. And I believe Bill Jones probably provided these photos, but they aren't identified to, and we aren't sure, but we're pretty sure that Bill had provided these. And on here, Beth Blunt is on here, and she'll be discussed a little bit later. She's sort of in the middle in the red blouse. And then this is a field trip from the 1980s. Again, there's no specific date on this or where they were at. And it has Kurt and Alice Walker, and then Marjorie McFarland on there, Steve Hanselman, Dick Cudworth will be mentioned a little bit later on, Judith Lackritz and Sumner Dana, and we'll speak a little bit more about Sumner. Then this photo was from 1958 at a TOS, and Beth Blunt is the second from the left, and she was an original member that joined in 1954, and she was also SAAS president in 1958, and probably held other positions that I'm not aware of. And then in 1961, SAAS hosted the TOS conference. And I know we hosted it 2 other times, or at least 2 other times, and one other time it will be mentioned later on. And then we have some pictures of some of our members, and these were some of the members that joined in the 1960s, and Sumner Dana is on the left, and James Middleton is on the right. And we'll discuss both of these gentlemen a little bit more later on. Then some of the education events that San Antonio Audubon was involved with was a science fair from the 1960s through the probably 2000s, maybe even later. And this is just something from one of the 1973 newsletters showing it was at Trinity University in 1973. And in 1997, it doesn't say where it was at, but Richard Sims and Georgina Schwartz were some of the judges at that science fair. And then SAAS used to be involved with the Fort Sam Houston Annual Hobby Festival, and those are just some ribbons of participation on the left, and then a certificate from 1968 honoring, or not honoring, but showing the appreciation to San Antonio Audubon for participating. Then on November 23rd, 1969, Audubon Note, which was written by Dr. R.L. Cope, started to appear in the San Antonio Light newspaper. The articles provided enlightening, entertaining, and educational information on birds and wildlife. And then Dick Cudworth took over the article in February 1984, and it ran through, which we couldn't find the information when the article actually stopped being in existence. And this is one of the articles, and there was no date on here, but it does show the San Antonio Audubon at that time was meeting at the Garden Center. And then with urging from San Antonio Audubon, Mitchell Lake was made a refuge for shorebirds and waterfowl on February 8th, 1973. Remember, Gerald Harding was the prime mover in this project, and unfortunately I couldn't find any pictures of Mr. Harding. At Mitchell Lake, this is a picture of bird banding in the 1990s, and this is showing Sumner Dana, who's the gentleman in the back with the cap on that's at the tailgate of his Suburban. And Sumner passed away in 2005. He did join San Antonio Audubon in 1965. He was the Mitchell Lake bird bander, and Betty said he also banded at some other locations, but I couldn't find reference to that. And he was a field trip leader. He participated in the Christmas bird count, and he held various positions with the San Antonio Audubon Board. Some more pictures on birding at Mitchell Lake. James Middleton is on the left, and it's an unknown birder on the right. And does anybody happen to know who that birder is? If you do, I guess you can put it in chat. And then James passed away in 2019, and he did join San Antonio Audubon in 1960. James was a field trip leader. He participated in the Christmas bird count. He held various SAAS board positions, and he was president numerous times: 1964, 65, 1970, 2000, and 2001. And he was also a very excellent wood carver. Members from the 1970s, Carolyn Cuthbertson is on the left, and she passed away in 2012, and she was a newsletter editor for many years. And Marjorie McFarland is on the right, and I didn't write down when she joined. Well, she joined in 1979, I apologize. And she did the woodpecker logo, which first appeared on April 13th, 1985. And then aluminum can recycling. Georgina was always in charge of that project, and people would bring their cans, and then they'd have a smashing party at her house. And these are just a couple of articles about the cans. They used some of the money to pad the benches that were at the Judson Nature Trail house. And the monies went, I guess, into the general fund of San Antonio Audubon. So we would appreciate all your efforts for all those years that you did the can smashing, Georgina. And then bird banding from 1981. This photo has Steve Hawkins on the left and Dick Cudworth on the right. And Dick passed away in 2010, and he was the one that took over the Audubon note in 1984. He did join SAAS in 1971, and he held various board offices, and he was president in 1974 and 1975. And Steve Hawkins on the left, he passed away in 2016. He joined San Antonio Audubon in 1975. He led field trips. He was very active in the Christmas bird count, and he was a Christmas bird count compiler in 2013. And at one time, he actually handled membership for the organization. Members from 1981 to 1985, Ron Huffman and Betty Walters. Ron's on the left. He joined in 1981. He presented many times for our organization, and he was a world traveler, and he has a life list that's unbelievable. And I don't, I probably should try to contact him to get his numbers from him. But he was always a fantastic speaker. And then Betty joined in 1981 also, and she's been several board positions. She is very active in education also. And then this is a field trip from 1983. Excuse me, I'm gonna get some water just a second. And this was at the Lesser Prairie Chicken trip. And there's various people on here. Sue Bailey's a second from the left. Libby Ludolph Bond is the fourth from the left. And then next to her is Ron Huffman, who we just spoke about. And then Steve Hawkins, who we previously had talked about, is the extreme right. And Sue Bailey passed away in 2016. And Sue bequeathed $5,000 to the San Antonio Audubon. And she was also a world traveler and traveled real frequently with Ron on his many trips. And this is an older photo, and this is Georgina back at the holiday party in 1986 with Grady Lofton. And so Georgina joined San Antonio Audubon in 1973. She was a beginner's birdwalk leader, field trip committee, field trip leader, Christmas bird count for Bexar County and various other counties, various board positions. She was San Antonio Audubon president in 1987. In 1988, she was education committee chair, newsletter mail-out chair, aluminum can coordinator, and probably lots of other things that I failed to list here. And she was with Mr. Lofton, and he passed away in 1987, and he was president, San Antonio Audubon president in 1956. And then we used to have bird tapes, and apparently, well, no, this was from a 1987 article, and it said that they were in the third year in 1987. And it's a Sam Bond, Rita Cudworth, Judy Lackritz, Bob Leahy, Liv Ludoff, and Ernie Rooney made the weekly recordings. But I thought there was something after that. And then this is a field trip to the Botanical Gardens, September of 1990. And the people on here weren't identified. And I don't know if y'all recognize any of them. I guess if you do, if you would put it in chat. And then San Antonio Audubon used to be involved with the Children's Museum in downtown San Antonio in the 1990s. And this is part of a display which was down at the Children's Museum. And I believe Georgina was very involved in this project. Members, from 1991 to 2000, on the top, Ann Selden's the left in the blue jacket. Next to her is Mr. Hershey, and next to Mr. Hershey is Richard Grant. And Richard Grant had been president for a few times also. And then Marianne Oglesby is next to him, and Marianne was chairman of the board, I guess, for 2 years, and I didn't include that in here, but she was on the board also. And then in front is Mary Alice Lavender and Arlene Miller. The bottom, there's a lot of us on there. Meath is on the left bottom. Marilyn Williams is in the red on the bottom. I'm in the next to her. Shirley Bartels, and then Charlotte Wenger. And Charlotte, I guess she did the membership also. I know she created a database for us. And behind Charlotte is Rachel Alvarado, and Rachel was a member for many years, and she moved to El Paso. And on the top, second over is Dwight Williams, and then Dick Bartels, and next to him is Andy Garcia. And Andy was a president for 1 or 2 years. And this is a picture of the annual picnic from October 13th, 1991. And it also was not labeled with who the folks are on this picture. Then San Antonio Audubon was involved with KLRN, and I don't know what years, but this photo is from 1993, and it has Marianne Golden, front row, very left, and Betty Walters is front row, very right, and in the back, I see those people are probably all older people that I don't know. Georgina probably does know them. And then here's a photo from 1999. Margaret Rohde's the second from the right, and she's still she's a member of San Antonio Audubon. And then Mariana Oglesby, top left, and then Charlotte Wenger, top right. They were very active in San Antonio Audubon a few years ago, and they're still members. Well, Marianne isn't, but Charlotte is. And then we have a Volunteers of the Year, and I don't know when that actually started, but we have some information from 1995. And in 1995, Dick and Rita Cudworth, Kurt and Alice Walker, and Beth Blunt, who was a founding member of San Antonio Audubon, they were presented plaques for their long and faithful service. And this came out of the May 1995 newsletter. The SAAS website this was from the February 1997 newsletter. And I don't know who wrote this, but this came out of the history that had come out of the newsletter. And it said SAAS on the website. And I think it should be, well, it's done. I was given the green light for the website several months ago. And after much head scratching, many late night bull sessions and input from dozens of internet veterans, SAAS has a site on the internet. So I don't know if it actually went into effect in 96 or 97. And here's another trip, field trip at the Cartwright Ranch. And this was the photos dated 2003. And on the left is Mr. Lon Cartwright. And in the middle is Gene Bensmiller. And on the right is Gerald Hewitt. And Jean was very involved with San Antonio Audubon, and I know she's deceased, and I did not look her information up, but she was very active doing field trips at the Cartwright Ranch and then at the Pullen Ranch. And this is a picture of one of the annual dinners we had in May of 2003. And in this photo, in the center is Eric Brierly, and he probably was a president at that time. He's presenting a bird sculpture by James Middleton to Ernie Rooney. And Ernie Rooney passed away in 2010, and he joined San Antonio Audubon in 1982. And he was a Christmas bird count compiler for many years. And he led a monthly field trip at Mitchell Lake for very many years. And he held various board positions, and he was president in 1985 and 1986. And then the 50th anniversary was September 2nd, 2004. This was the front page of the brochure. And this was the back listing all the presidents at that time. And we'll talk a little bit more about the presidents later on. And then this is Eric Brierly presenting honorary life membership to Bill Jones. And this was in 2004. And Bill Jones was an excellent photographer. And he was also into, I guess, the cutting edge technology at the time that he was a member. And then we were involved with the Adopt a Highway program. And this was the first highway pickup on November 27th in 2005. And Barbara Keyes is the extreme left with the safety vest on. And I don't know who the other people are on the photo. And Barbara joined San Antonio Audubon in 2004. And she held various SAAS board positions. And she was the president in 2009 and 2010. She was the Adopt a Highway chairman and the TOS chair, which that's the year, I can't remember when it was. It was, I think it was a hotel on 410 near Blanco Road area. And then the education committee, these are just some of the events that they had in 2006. And this was when I guess Georgina was pretty much in charge of education at that time. And she also, Helen Resnick helped her with the education. So they went to the Medina River Natural Area, and they also did a program in Birds of Bear County for the master naturalists. And then Georgina gave a program at the Nature Festival at Natural Bridge Caverns. And then in 2006, there was a birding challenge, and they probably had them other years, but this one I did find. And some of these people are still around, like Dodge Engelman and Lorna, Marianne Golden, Barbara Keyes, Lynn Laswell. Pardon me? And Sandy Wheeler. Some of the people like Kurt McCamey and Leslie Linehan had been members in the past, and they help on the Christmas bird count every year. And this is a picture of an annual dinner that we had December 2nd of 2010 at the San Antonio Zoo Bistro. And the left photo is Dick and Shirley Bartels. And the right, I may have this wrong, but I think this unknown. And then it's Georges Voorhees, Bill Schwartzes, Lee Pasquale, and Betty Pasquale. And if y'all could, Georgina, can you tell if that is Bill in the middle or if he's on the left? Okay, we'll just maybe catch that later.
Yeah, and then the next, Bill was in the middle.
So I do have it correct? Okay. Thank you, Karen. SAAS volunteer, Dawn may have received the award. I didn't find it anywhere, but I didn't have all the information, but she's done a lot for the organization. She joined San Antonio Audubon in 1999. She held various board positions. She was president for 6 times within the last 20 years, 2011, 2012, 2014 and 15, and then 2021 and 2022. And she's been the Christmas bird count compiler since 2015. And she also helps with education activities, and she's been a meeting presenter. And Sheridan Coffey used to write an article for the newsletter called On the Wing. And this particular article was from the January 2011 edition, letting us know what birds are around, what would be around in January. And then on Volunteers of the Year in 2013, Laura Reynolds was the Volunteer of the Year, and the award was presented by Alan on the left. And Laura was a newsletter editor from 2009 to 2022. And she also was a webmaster and Zoom host, and she probably helped with education and a lot of other things that I don't have up here, but she was a great asset. And Laura's still a member, but they moved away from San Antonio. And then the photo on the right is Helen Rezic, and she was presented by Gail Nickel. And Helen, she was a field trip committee, field trip leader in education. And Gail and Helen both are still members of the organization. And then SAAS makes some donations every year. This was just a picture from October 2013 with Jerry Coleman on the left. He was a SAAS president, and I didn't put the year on there. He's presenting to Don Schesler of Warbler Woods. This photo is from June 2014, and Alan Kuntz on the left is presenting to Peggy and Mark Opelt for the Land Heritage Institute. And this final photo is October 2016, with Betty Walters presenting to Sarah Beasley for the Mitchell Lake Audubon Center. And this is a photo of a field trip to Blanco State Park. Helen's on the front row next to Karen, next to Christine, and they're still all members. And I believe, I skipped over Georgina. She's second from the right. Sorry about that, Georgina. And so the other members, people on here may still be members. I don't recognize them. If anybody does, if you could put it in chat, that would be great. And then San Antonio Audubon at one time was involved with the carbon offset program, and Patsy Inglett introduced that program at the end of 2014. And members would donate money to the San Antonio Audubon, and that money went into there was a line item for the carbon offset program, and that money was finally distributed a few years ago to several organizations within the San Antonio area. And then the bird feature article that's in our monthly newsletter is done by Mike Scully. And I don't know what year he started doing that, but it's been he used to do it monthly when we had a monthly newsletter. And then now it's every 2 months he provides the article. But in 2014, he did receive the Volunteer of the Year award. And he also in 2014, in June and July, he did a 2,000-mile bike trip from San Antonio to New York, and that was his article for that month. And then in 2016, in June and July, he did a United Kingdom bike trip where he rode 1,500 miles. And then Volunteer of the Year in 2014, Tom Inglett's on the left, and it was presented by Desi Dearsonia. This photo is from 2015 with Georgina and Karen Mulder presenting to Bob Doe. And Bob was president in 1998, 1999, 2006, and part of 2020. And then in 2015, Jerry Coleman received the award, and it was presented by Desi Dearsonia. And then we also had a Young Birders Club, which Patsy Englert was in charge of. In this photo on the left is from April 18th, 2015, with the junior chickadees. They won first place. And then the senior chickadees also won first place in the competition. And then this last item that popped up is from 2017, where it shows that both of the junior and senior chickadees again won first place. They may have won first place every year, but these were just the articles I did find about the young birders. And then Bird Pond at Phil Harburger Park, Alan Kuntz handled that, and this was from October 10th, 2015. And it shows about the bird pond that Alan was instrumental in getting in at the Harburger Park. And then this is a picture from October 10th, 2015, where we had birds of prey. And then we had another annual, well, we had annual picnics every year, but this is from 2024, just last year. We had birds of prey again. And that's Eileen's granddaughter on the left. And then Desi's in the back. And then Georgina sitting down in the blue. And then back in 2015, we did a SeaWorld outing that Paige Newman arranged. She was an employee at SeaWorld at the time. And then we have Karen Mulder on the left and Helen Rezic on the right. Looks like they had a good time that day. And then at Facebook in March of 2016, San Antonio Audubon launched a Facebook page. And here's a picture of Christine. She presented several times. This particular photo was from her November 3rd, 2016 presentation about Amazon River Cruise, Peru. Christine was on the field trip committee. She was on the SAAS board from 2016 to 2021. She may have been other years also. And then she was president in 2016 and 2017. She was a meeting presenter, the Facebook moderator, a Zoom host, both for the general and board meetings. And then Volunteer of the Year in 2016, Alan Kuntz received the award, and it was presented by Christine. And in 2017, Patsy Englert won the award. It was presented by Marianne on the left and Georgina on the right. And this is a field trip in 2017. And it said it was from November 16th at Crescent Bend. And Marianne Golden's in front, and Mike Crease is the gentleman walking behind her. And then the other, Mary Brennan is to the right with the binoculars up, and an unknown person in the back. And Marianne Golden was on the field trip committee, field trip leader, member since 1998, various board positions. She was president in 2018, 2019, and acting president, carried us through when we first had COVID of 2020, and on the education, and probably lots of other helpful things that she's done for San Antonio Audubon.
The unknown birder is Dwight Williams.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then this is a photo of a meeting from January 4th, 2018. And Justin Moore was the speaker. He talked about drones, and he used his Spark drone to take this photo. And this was at the San Antonio Zoo Education Center. And I can see several of the people. The very left in the blue is John Prentice. And then Laura Lorna Engelman's up in the front, second from the
Dodgers.
left. Looks like Patsy's behind her. Well, in the Patsy Inglet's in the center, like by the doorway. Moving around, Desi is in the peach-colored outfit, and Alan Kuntz is standing next to her. The guy with the shorts is from the zoo, and I can't think of his name. And then the back row, the gentleman with the black jacket is David Newman, and his wife is Paige, standing next to him with the green jacket. And she was on the board at the time, and she was the one that arranged the SeaWorld trip. And Mary Brennan has the khaki colored jacket on. So that was a great photo that evening. And then some field trips from 2018. April 3rd, Blanco State Park. They had lunch afterwards. The first lady is unknown. If you know her, please put it in chat. And then Christine Turnbull. Well, I don't know if that's Christine or not. And then Georgina Schwartz at the head of the table, Marianne Golden next to her, then Mary Brennan, and then unknown. And then June 2nd at the Haggard Ranch, Amitha's in the yellow blouse. And then the others, I didn't know who they were, and the photo wasn't marked. And there was a newsletter folding team. So in November, December 2018, there was a note in the newsletter that the folding team was no longer needed because everything was going to be, from this point on, all the newsletters were going to be mailed out electronically. They were doing still 44 newsletters a week, and the team consisted of Shirley and Dick Bartels, Chandra and Gerald Hewitt, and Karen and Jerry Mulder, and they would meet at Georgina's house, and she coordinated the whole event. And then TOS was held in San Antonio, May 2nd to the 5th, 2019. And on this photo, we have Marianne Golden on the left, Patsy Inglet in the center, and Patty Pastor on the right. And then field trips from 2019 is Gail Nickel on the left in the green, and next to her in the white is her husband, Terry Nickel. Mike Crease is up front, and then I think that's Marianne in the bluish colored blouse behind Mike, and then Helen behind the scope. And then this is a little bit closer up picture of Georgina and Mike Crease. And then real frequently, the club would take trips down to Rockport and do the skimmer boat trip. And I think this is Bill Zwartzies and Karen Nickel, Gail Nickel in the left photo, and then Ray Kutzman and Terry Nickel on the right. And then on September 21st, 2019, there was a field trip to the Wiedenfeld Ranch. And on this photo, the gentleman on the left is Sergio Gamero, and then next to him is Georgina. And then Sue Wiedenfeld has the hat on, and then next to her is Desi. And Sue joined San Antonio Audubon in 1967, and she's the oldest, or not the oldest, but she has the oldest membership presently that up to date. And she held various board positions, and she was also president in 1991 and 1992, and she was a field trip leader. And then a member appreciation on December 2nd, 2019, the club honored Shirley Bartels. She was retiring, I guess you could say, from the Judson Nature Trail coordinator. She was very involved with publicity, and she was on the newsletter folding committee. And Dodge and Lorna brought those items back from Panama that Shirley has in her lap, the purse, and I think it was pot holders. And also on December 2nd, 2019, Tom and Patsy Inglet were honored because they were stepping down from their many years of doing various things for San Antonio Audubon. And Patsy had served as program chair in education outreach, and Tom served as membership chair. And Tom would always set up the computer equipment for the programs when we were over at the zoo, and probably even at the location before that. And then the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And this is an article that was in a newsletter from about that time from Fran Mitchell. And she said she made her annual trip to Panama on March 12th. But the airport was closed for a month, and she wasn't able to go birding, go out and bird. But her son lived in a birdie area, so she saw the species that were listed. And then on some other education at the Judson Nature Trail, Barbara Sykes is real involved with doing education as well as leading the beginner's bird walk there. And this particular photo was with the Daisy Girl Scout troop from August of 2021. And Barbara took over the beginner's bird walk from Georgina in December of 2019. And she is she's presently in charge of the beginner's bird walk down at the Judson Nature Trail. And Zach's done a lot for the organization. He's been a field trip leader, field trip committee, the SAAS board from 2021 to the present, a meeting presenter on these two occasions, February 3rd, 2022 and March 7th, 2024, and maybe some other times. He's been the Zoom host for the general and board meetings for a number of years. And here's a picture of the beginner's bird walk back from October 9th, 2022. And if y'all recognize these folks, if you could put it in chat, that would be great. Then on June 10th of last year, 2024, we had our 70th anniversary, and we held it in conjunction with Bear Audubon. And it was at the Alamo Community College office off of Broadway. In the photo on the right is Lisa Schwartz and Denise Urdialis, and they won some caps that Wild Birds had donated to the organization. There were 10 or 12 caps that were donated, and it was just a random drawing. And Denise is hosting the meeting tonight, and she's on the board, and she's helped host several of the general and board meetings. So appreciate that, Denise. And then Sandy Wheeler is a longtime member, and she retired from the field trip committee in December of 2024. And she's had been on the committee about 20 years, but she'll still lead the Crescent Bend Nature Park and the Warbler Woods Bird Sanctuary trips. And I didn't put down when Sandy joined. I apologize for not including that. And she's been on the SAAS board for a number of years, was in various positions throughout the years. Then on presidents, these were the original, the first 50 years. And most of them only served one term, and they weren't repeats. A couple of them were, but they weren't like back to back. But then we go to the last 20 years, and we see a lot of the people repeating over and over together, like Barbara Kais was 2 years in a row, and then Dawn was 2 years, and Jerry, and then Dawn was again 2 years, and Christine 2, and Marianne 2, then kind of 3, because when Bob stepped down, and then Dawn came back on again, and then I came on in 2023. So it's just kind of an idea how things have changed over the years with how people volunteer. And just kind of wrap up the San Antonio core activities, monthly general meetings, field trips. We always have an annual picnic, an annual dinner, a holiday party. We had some traditions, the Christmas bird count, which we saw some pictures of, some Bear County checklist, the beginner's bird walk, lots of education. Probably didn't include everything. Viva Botanica, we were real involved in that, and that wasn't included. The science fair, and the Children's Museum. We were involved with the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, and it was probably around 2003 because Eric Brierly was real instrumental in that educational event. And people volunteered for all, like I said, 3 weeks the rodeo runs, and there were shifts the whole time. There was lots of volunteers at that time. Mitchell Lake Audubon Center at their festival, and then the Young Birders Club. And then, excuse me, some of the community involvement had been at the Fort Sam Houston Hobby Festival, the aluminum can collection, the KLRN membership drive, Adopt a Highway program, and the carbon offset program. And just to recap on the annual donations, we give annually to Mitchell Lake Audubon Center, Warbler Woods Bird Sanctuary, Land Heritage Institute, and the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance. I think that's it. I guess I can stop sharing. So I see there's some stuff in chat. Let's see. Patsy said, in the early days, your presentation mentioned Audubon screen tours, a term I'm not familiar with. Were those what we now call slideshow presentations? Georgina, would you know that? Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If Georgina can come on, she's probably the only one that was a member at that time. I'm thinking it was probably not slide projector. It was probably, what was it called? When they had on the reel.
I don't see that Georgina is still on here. Her son got picked up with the tablet, but I don't see she's still on.
Okay.
And also I wanted to say she also did the duck stamps for a number of years.
Oh, yeah. What about the duck stamps?
Yeah.
Georgina is still on.
Really?
She's down at the lower right-hand corner there. Well, now she's gone again.
Oh, okay.
Now I see her back.
Oh, now she's back.
Oh, there she is, Georgina.
Well, Georgina wanted to say that Georgina really wasn't the originator of the beginner's bird walk. That was Dorothy Brown. She had it over in the medical center neighborhood when it moved to the nature trail. Then I took it over.
Right. I know you had told me that, and I probably should have included something to that effect. I just didn't, I never could find anything in the limited information that I had about Dorothy. Now, Patsy had a question about the Audubon screen tours, and I believe you were a member when they were doing the screen tours. Was that a slideshow?
No, it was movies.
Oh, it was a movie? Okay.
Yeah, movies.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
That was really interesting. Thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so like Lynn said, that was Dana Green on one of those photos, and Patsy said about Eva Fromm. I couldn't remember Eva's name. Yeah, and then, oh, it looks like Leslie's on. Let's see.
And
So,
Bruce Jones, he's a plumber in Canyon Lake. We met a number of years ago. So he was with the Kamel group, and he's next to Dana Green in that photo. Tall guy with glasses, kind of balding head, beard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you put that in the chat? Or
I did.
Okay. Yeah. I see it now. And Rick's a member also. No, Sandy put that tall guy in the back is Rick. This presentation is right at 100,000 kilobytes, if I'm saying that right. It's huge. I couldn't send it by email, but if y'all would like it, somehow we can maybe get it in Dropbox or something to get it to y'all if you would be interested in having it. And I apologize for not if I skipped anybody, I apologize for that. And I wish I had more information to pull from to get a broader perspective of the club. But we did do a lot, which is great. And so if anybody else has any questions or comments, we'll address those before we move to the next item.
I thank you very much. It's a good program.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so don't leave. Stay tuned in.
Hang on, Deborah, just a second. How
Sure.
long will the website be up?
Um, Probably another year or maybe about a year or so. I guess we could try to put it out there or.
Well, and I was thinking about, shall I just go ahead and put Crescent Bend out there for till there's no longer a website?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something if we, if the vote goes through for dissolution this evening, then we will have to contact the network solutions and Squarespace to see how long they would keep our information out there. Because I know we pay like annually on some of this stuff, and I don't know if we're not paying, I don't know if it goes away. That's something we're gonna have to find out.
Before we move on, I just want to say thank you to Deborah for putting this whole thing together. This was a wonderful thing. I learned a lot about the club before we joined. Thank you very much, Deborah.
Oh, you're welcome. I see some more people have joined since when I was trying to take roll a while ago. And some people are members, and most of them are members. Some of them are guests.
Deborah, this is Patsy Coons. I was thinking that we'll have a video of the Zoom meeting, so this slideshow would be on that video too. If maybe this meeting video could be put on YouTube and let us know what the link would be to it, then people could access it there also.
Okay, that's a good idea. We can look into that. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have signed on that I didn't realize were on the call. Oh, you can stop the recording, Denise.